Hi, I'm Lesley Chard, Vice President of Design and User Experience at Carnegie Learning and founder of Digital Waves. One thing you might not know about me is I'm a drag queen enthusiast.
Lesley, you have had quite the career at such a young age. You've had so many different accomplishments in the tech sector, which has been really exciting to watch. Could you just tell me a little bit about how you actually started in tech? What did that look like for you?
So, my journey actually began when I was 9 years old. I grew up in Harbor Grace, and my dad was a tech teacher. And at the time, and I didn't really have a whole lot of interest in sports or any other extracurriculars that were offered out there. So I did spend quite a lot of time on my computer, which I was always fortunate to have because he was working at the high school and he was able to bring equipment home. He also allowed me to kind of go do whatever I wanted on there, and to not be afraid to like break things, which was probably a bad move on his part. How many times he's had to like reset our computer or reformat it because I've done something that was beyond control of breaking it. But it also allowed me to develop skills really early around coding and design. I don't think anyone really understood fully like what I was doing and how to even create websites. I'm sure there were exceptions to that out there at the time, but I think my dad used to help me at the beginning, but I think by the time I was like 10 or 11, my skills had kind of gone past his area of expertise. So then I really leveraged like online communities. Especially at the time there were a lot of like youth communities online that were really interested in design and coding as well. um, and then I carried that kind of throughout high school, not so much the online community aspect of it, but continuing to like create websites and kind of express my creativity through web design and coding. Um, I actually did not want to get into tech in high school because it was kind of like my safe space or my creativity outlet, and I thought a career was going to take like the love out of it. So when you do it for work, it kind of becomes the job, not the fun. Um, but then when I got into university, I wanted to do a science degree. I didn't really like any other sciences. So, and I especially didn't like physics, and computer science allowed me to do the science degree without having to do any physics. So I was sold. But as soon as I did my first computer science course, I was like, this is it. Like, this is what I need to do. And I also found so many people in those programs that I could relate to. And I made like a bunch of lifelong friends. So I just knew it was from me from the point I got into university.
What did that look like to you, like from, I guess, a gender perspective? What was your experience like going through the computer science program?
I mean, the gender ratios were abysmal. It was very frequent for me to look around a classroom of 30, 40 people, and be the only woman or one of few women or even like gender diverse. At the end of the day, you feel a little bit alienated and alone. Um, Even though my peers who weren't women were very welcoming and supported me quite a lot throughout my degree. It just makes you feel like you don't have people necessarily that relate to you. Um, I think over the years, I have a lot of folks who identify as part of the queer and trans spectrum. And after hearing about a lot of their barriers and then digging into the research, I realized that this is, another huge problem in the industry as a whole.
As a woman who went through the program, what do you think would be kind of compelling or something useful to help with recruitment?
I think just putting in benchmarks could be a very easy thing to say that we are going to ensure that 30, 40, 50% of our classes that are incoming are gender diverse. Or, you could add any sort of intersectional diversity into that spectrum because anecdotally, from what I understand, they are getting lots of folks applying to these programs now. So there's less barriers for them to say, like, we just need to ensure that we have a balance here in our classrooms. And maybe not so heavily consider the academic requirements that come into those things. Like certainly that can play into it, but it doesn't have to be everything. It doesn't always have to be about GPA or extracurriculars or whatever they're doing to consider who's actually getting accepted into these degrees. The other thing is putting in real monetary incentives. So things like scholarships and um, campaigns and outreach, like just letting women know that these programs exist. You're extremely welcome. And then when you do decide to enter one of these programs, we're not going to turn you away. There is research out there that shows that women are more likely to get into a tech career if they see it as something socially impactful. It's why a lot of women get into medicine and teaching and education, because the human impact is self-evident, right? You don't have to kind of meander around it at all. But with technology, it has a perception of being a very cold profession that's kind of removed from humanity. And it's not the case, as you and I both know. We're both working on things that are highly impactful to real people, and almost everyone in software is, because that's the point of software. So you need to show young women and gender diverse folks that element in order for them to potentially more likely see themselves in a tech career.
Yeah.
I've said this controversially at a student event about hiring, and I'll say it again. When I'm hiring a new employee, I am never going to look at your academic transcripts. Like, I don't care. I care about, your skills. I care about your portfolio. I care about the open source work that you've done. I care about how passionate you are about the field. I really don't care if you have a 4.0 GPA. I think that's amazing, and you should celebrate that success for sure. But as a hiring manager, it's not the biggest deal to me. So I don't know why, for our educational institutions, if we can't at least put another lens onto, entry requirements.
Yeah. I can tell how passionate you are about, the work that Carnegie Learning is doing, the team that you've grown from 2 to 20 or 30 people. What are you working on right now that makes you excited? What are you most excited about right now about what you're doing?
We are doubling down in the AI space. Carnegie Learning is actually one of the original AI education companies, stemmed 30 years ago out of Carnegie Mellon. We are implementing or taking the initiative to implement more AI in more places. So really, it's not about, and it will never be about, replacing teachers. It's always about, again, taking some of the time that they're spending on ways that aren't being impactful in the classroom but are still necessary to their jobs, and giving them more time back so they can have more face time leading classes and helping small groups of students or individual one-on-ones. AI has a huge opportunity to help with that in terms of having that heartbeat on a classroom and giving teachers that guiding hand to say, you should focus on redoing this concept because your kids aren't, there might be a few kids that aren't grasping it yet, giving them more insights into prerequisites they should be focusing on, or how to challenge kids that are disengaged. Monitoring kids' motivation, engagement, and performance is huge too. So finding more ways to take generative AI and make learning a personalized experience for them.
What do you think some of the benefits are of having your whole career here in Newfoundland and Labrador? You were born here and raised here. You've had your career here. What do you think some of the benefits are?
I feel like I've had many opportunities that I would not have had elsewhere. The startup scene here was and continues to be very exciting. There's so many companies that are looking for talented folks, or even folks coming out of school looking to grow their skills in interesting and impactful ways. Companies that are growing into the global market, not just Newfoundland and Labrador, but are able to extend that technology and reach to anywhere in the world. We also have an excellent tech community here. I've seen so much growth in that area in my 10 years in the industry. techNL, wink, nudge.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, like I love techNL and all of the work that they're doing. I love going to Innovation Week. It actually reminds me every single year why I love this space. Um, and those reminders don't go unnoticed. I will say that by the tech community. I think that I'm now working for a company based out of the United States. We still do have many customers here in Newfoundland and Labrador as well as Canada, but working remotely and having a remote team, it doesn't really impact as much as you would think my ability to lead American-based products or American-specific products or have empathy for American users or even users in Canada that are from different provinces. I think it's almost inspiring and I don't know, maybe surprising is the word that when I first entered this role, I thought that that would be a huge roadblock or hurdle that I would have to get over is how can I design products effectively for people that I barely know and have a sometimes very different culture than what we have here. But I wouldn't, for anyone who's thinking of working remotely from Newfoundland for a company outside of the province, I would say don't think like that. If you're an empathetic person, if you're a collaborative person, you can learn about other people. You can live their experiences and learn from them if you take the time to do so.
Mm-hmm.
So it hasn't really been a roadblock for me.
And what is your vision for Digital Waves? Like, what do you hope would happen with Digital Waves? You've started it. You have such great focus areas on needs specific in Newfoundland and Labrador. What's your hope for Digital Waves?
I have a lot of hopes and dreams. I do not have a lot of time. That's
That's the modern day conundrum.
So I very much underestimated how much like time and energy and I guess just I don't know brain space I would have after coming into this new role at Carnegie Learning. I love being a leader and supporting my team and guiding things throughout the design process. But I have found it very challenging to go home and do that same job again. I think over the summer, the hope is we'll sit down with STEM for Girls and Quadrangle and now and really figure out how to scale this and bring it into the classrooms next year and package it up and have it as a resource that any teacher could use to teach coding in the classroom.
Thank you so much, Lesley, for really sharing your journey, your experiences, and your advice for everybody here in the tech sector. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.